Excellent. Water's good, Marc. So best way to
Water's
start off a seminar is by hydrating. Good morning. We're just approaching 10 a.m., 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. here. If you are joining us, please jump in the chat. First of all, let's test it. Let's see where you're joining us from. Pop in the chat what company you're from, what country, and what you're looking forward to the most today. Okay. Hey, Sean. Nice to see you. Motion analysis. We've got Brian from Abbott-Action. Hey, Brian. Got a friendly there, Jess.
Yep. I know him.
Okay. We're going to kick off in about 2 minutes. Let more people come in. We're a little bit early. Today's session is a seminar, so we welcome your input throughout. Any questions, anything you'd like our panels to answer, please just jump in and ask the question, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. And should we not be able to cover it during the call, we'll come back to you afterwards. Hey, Brandon. Great to see you. French in South Africa. That's great. Adam, awesome. We've got a bit of an international field so far.
Yeah, welcome.
Hopefully my esteemed panel and VIP guests are ready. Okay. Thank you and welcome to the Automation and Integration series here on Significans Automation. We are delighted to have another session once again put together by an amazing group of individuals. And this time we have a customer on the session with us today. So our host, Marc Raad, Significans Automation, the driver behind this series and understanding the importance of these topics of conversation. We have Chuck from Barberan. Welcome, Chuck. And we have Jess from Abbott-Action as well. And you also notice James. James is sitting there as well. He's joined us from the West Coast, I believe, James, this morning.
I am, yes, definitely.
And we look forward to finding out why you've joined us and how you fit into this conversation later, sir.
Sounds good. Sometimes I wonder myself.
Okay, I will be your presenter today, trying to keep up with this amazing group of individuals. My name's Chris, and as I mentioned earlier, this is a seminar. This is slightly different to the normal webinar. We would like you to interact. We'd like you to jump in the chat, ask questions, any point we want to hear. And as I say, if we can't get to them during the session, we will make a conscious effort to get back to you afterwards. So at this point, I'm going to start to do a little intro into our panel. Chuck, welcome. Let's give us the high-level view of who you are and what you do, sir.
It's a deep question to ask sometimes. No, Chuck Slingerland, Barberan Corrugated US. I had the esteemed pleasure of being an early adopter of single-pass technology, actually with Jess and the team at Abbott-Action. So we spent several years there when we brought the technology on site with Barberan. And then for the past 5 years, I have supported North America from a sales and service standpoint. And I'm here today to share some of the insight into what we're doing today, where we're going tomorrow, and some of the unique features we offer.
Excellent, Chuck. Looking forward to picking your brains later on. Jessica or Jess, are we formal? Are we Jess or are we Jessica today?
You can call me Jess.
Okay, welcome, Jess. You're from the well-known, in a positive sense, Abbott-Action Packaging. Do you want to give us a little overview of yourself and what you guys do, please?
So Abbott-Action is a corrugated box facility. We do packaging and displays. So we were originally Abbott Box, and we merged with Action Container. We acquired Patriot Packaging, Packaging Unlimited, French Packaging. We used to do more heavily in foam and wood, but lately we've, in recent years, we've kind of navigated a little further from that, and we're mostly just corrugated packaging and displays. I've been here for almost 9 years, and I am the graphic design and pre-press manager here. And I, in the past, have managed a team up to 4 others, so 5 including myself. Right now, it's just me and one other individual. And so I've kind of gained a lot of a background in pre-press over the years. Yeah, I've been managing for about like 6 years, and I think that's it.
I think that's not it. I think that's quite impressive, to be honest. But, thanks, Jess. And again, thanks for joining us today. I think these seminars have been really interesting for me as an onlooker when the PSP joins. And I think we're really, really delighted you could be on today sharing your perspective. So thank you so much. Now I come to our distinguished host, the man with the vision for automation, Marc Raad. Welcome. Thank you once again for putting this together. I'm going to hand over to you now, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for coordinating all this, Chris and the team. More importantly, I want to thank all those who are in the audience today. It's a real pleasure to be part of this conversation, which is a really important conversation. It all has to do with automating and digitizing your businesses so that we're getting ready for an AI era ahead of us. Just a little bit about Significans Automation. We are a software integration company. Actually, we're one of the largest integration companies in North and South America at this point. We have grown because we transcend the entire print, pack, agency space. And we've done exceptionally well because we have an incredible team that knows automation like the back of their hand. They've actually come from shop floor experience and therefore know all about automating and tinkering, coding, etc., so that they can provide the best services and processes to the customer base. Of late, we've been starting to do our own little software applications and our codes, and those sort of fill in the gaps that are most apparent in the foundational software solutions that are apparent on the marketplace today. Those are some that we'll discuss further in this conversation. But at a high level, as this slide indicates, our core business is business system integration, custom workflow automation, and AI strategies, as well as some software services. And finally, our reach is all throughout the Americas. As you can see here, we've got names that may be familiar to the audience and some who are not, and many, many more companies behind this who have said, please keep us as your best kept secret. And so we do so. But we've had the privilege of doing business with well over 300 customers throughout the Americas and Canada. And we're excited to do more and more novel projects and modern projects for customers. And speaking of which, from a customer base, if we go back to the last slide, Chris, if that's possible, of course, we're here with Jess from Abbott-Action. We've had the privilege of doing business with Jessica and the team for the last 6+ years. And that's sort of commonplace for customers who want to come on the journey and do continuous improvement or get into some new projects constantly. So on to our global adoption. This is with regards to our software and application builds, more on the InFocus side of our business. We do service customers like Abbott-Action who have a different platform to InFocus, but these are our app reaches, and our customer base seems to be quite prominent in the Americas as well as in Europe. And then the last slide.
So at this point, I'm going to ask everyone, Marc, if I can, to scan the QR code. If you want to find out more about Significans, there's a plethora of resources and downloads on the significans.com website. And Marc, I think we've got something else to bring in with you a bit later on. So I will move on if that's okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone who's dived in the chat so far. This is an interactive session and we've already got questions that have come in the build up to today's seminar. I'm going to kick off first and foremost, Charles or Chuck. What would you like to be called today, sir? Charles or Chuck?
Chuck was fine. Thank you.
Let's go with Chuck. Chuck it is. So Barberan is nearly 100 years old. That's quite a feat in itself. What does it actually mean to be a machine builder? And what kind of history is competing in digital print today?
Well, Chris, I think you've got a really unique timeline slide that we could share with the audience. But our biggest strength is our stability. We've been a privately held family-owned company, which means that we're not driven by short-term shareholder pressure or quick exits. We're actually able to think in years and not quarters. That long-term mindset lets us invest continuously in our people, the technology to create these devices, and most importantly, our customer success. And the continuity is real. I'm excited that the fourth generation is actually already in place. They're actively involved in the business, and they're carrying forward the same values and commitment that Mr. Barberan has instilled on us by bringing fresh ideas and energy. So all that means is that we're here for the long haul, and we're actually ready for the next 100 years. So in 2029, we will celebrate our 100-year anniversary. So I am so excited to be part of that and really looking forward to the next 100.
Chuck, that's amazing. I mean, there's not many people can say that, especially in the current economic climate, about to celebrate 100 years. And as you said just there, we will be ready for the next 100 years, which is something that I really picked on there, which was fantastic. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second. Jess, I'm going to come to you now, if that's all right. What was one of the first in North America? Well, sorry, you're one of the first in North America to pass single press digital. Having been part of a team during the early stages, what were some of the biggest learnings, opportunities, and how did those efforts contribute to what is now, from what I can see, strong results for Abbott that's experienced with this machine?
So kind of to paint a picture and give a little bit of background, back in 2016, we purchased the Barberan Jetmaster. At the time, we had 2 graphic designers in-house. They hired a third person right when the machine was acquired. And then around 6 to 8 months later is when I came along. And I was hired because they needed more help because there was so much work coming through. So I'm from my perspective, when I first started, we already had so many digital orders because they needed that additional help. We needed more people. And then a few years later, we ended up hiring a 5th graphic designer. And so I wanted to mention the machine is very, very special to me because of all that. It's kind of been my baby. And it was a really exciting time back then. It was really fast paced, and it was exciting to get to learn all the capabilities. And so our Jetmaster Barberan is 1890. And I know Chuck's going to speak about the new 2.0s as well, which we've been very interested in. And so I think the machine honestly has a lot more of an ROI than we even anticipated originally. And it's honestly because a big example, kind of one of the capabilities that we had to learn is it doesn't print white ink, and it doesn't really need to, because if you think about it, a lot of the substrates that we print on are white. So it doesn't print white ink. And just to give an example, and because of that, sometimes the ink will very minimally fill in. So we had to kind of figure out, in order to give customers the output of what they expect, how can we offset that on our digital files graphically. So we call it stroke, but essentially a border around each letter. How much white stroke can I additionally add to each letter so that the customer is getting the end result that they're expecting? So that's a little bit that's one example of what my team does day to day. So we kind of had to learn, you get to know the machine. We were able to sell, we had a HP Cytex that we sold pretty much right off the bat when the Jetmaster was up and running. We also were able to sell our litho labelers automatons. We were able to convert a whole lot of our existing label customers to digital because the quality is very good. But again, it's you have to get to know the machine. You have to figure out, the graphic team has to know how to get it to that level. I think it's worth the investment because you think you purchase a machine and you think oh, machinery is old and it wears away over time and it gets older. But it's actually a machine that I feel gets better over time, because an example of this would be, I want to say 3 to 4 years ago, there was a huge upgrade within our RIP software. We use ColorGate, and it exponentially improved, like the small, thin black lines. So for barcodes and small black text, it's gotten a lot better. So we were actually able to make text a little bit that much smaller, and there it just looks more crisp and clear than ever. So
Wow. Okay. And I think
yeah.
Chuck's got his work cut out there trying to convince you to move to the Jetmaster 2.0, right? It sounds like you've having a bit of a tight relationship there, which is getting better with age. So I'm gonna come on to our host here, Marc. So you've been close between both Barberan and Abbott for some time now, hence why we're very lucky to have both of them here. What do you think that makes it all tick for you as a connector?
Well, this is the authenticity series, right, Chris?
Something like that.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, what makes it tick is all the integration that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? I hope my sound's coming in okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Thanks for nodding there. Yeah, it really all has to do with the integration behind the scenes, and it involves what Jess is doing, how her processes are reaching out to the back end of the business. I just want to put in a little footnote here. I've been to Abbott-Action. I've had that privilege quite a few times to come down and see Abbott-Action in a past life. And I was mesmerized by, one, how clean of a business it was, but how efficiently it was built. And it centered around this excellence. And the excellence was going all towards a digital aspect in their business. And they had the foresight to say, okay, well, these are digital pieces of equipment, whether it was digital finishing or digital press with the Barberan. They were all connected by conveyor systems, but they didn't want to leave these digital pieces of equipment as islands of automation. They wanted to get it to be a full thrust of energy. So it'd go out to one of their ample amount of dock doors and shipping doors sort of thing. So their push was always out of the door so that they can keep their customers as happy as possible. And their other push was speed to market and all the rest. The only way you're really going to get there, and this is why I mentioned authenticity, the only way you're going to get there is by having a fully integrated system that communicates from the front end of the business, all the back office, all the invoicing and all the rest, right through to the shipping department. And that was Significance and Jess and her team coming together to say, okay, how do we design it? How do we propel this to be a very modern business today? Chuck's involvement has been just amazing. He is one of the most conscientious equipment salespeople that I know out there. But having had his history at Abbott-Action, he's also extra conscientious because he's had that shop floor experience as well. And so he tries to marry things up to say, okay, it's not just a piece of equipment, but it is actually a piece of the whole entity here that drives the business.
Wow, Chuck, that's quite a testament to you there, sir. I think I was going to ask you a slightly different question. I mean, I've got a serious question, but I think the first one I want to know after hearing from Jess is, how are you going to sell the 2.0 after what she's just said about the 18, right?
It's going to be a challenge. One of the things that Abbott-Action has done almost better than other people in the marketplace is that their machine currently runs the older Seiko printhead technology, which is a 508. It's 360 DPI. From a droplet size, it's running a droplet 3 times larger than our new smallest droplet. But even with those specifications, as Jess hit, I think it was within 3 years of installing the Jetmaster, they were able to transition 95% of their litho business to the Jetmaster. They had enough confidence. I almost call it Columbus leaving the boats. They sold the automatons, and then there was a few legacy customers that there were some certain colors. Again, if some single pass printers are great, they can print a large gamut of colors, but there are going to be some colors that a client still is going to want litho. And so the great thing with Abbott being part of other companies is that they have an asset if someone needs a litho. So they've just done extremely well. They're very conscientious. And I think with what James and Marc and his team did of how they integrate, how files are looked at, how they're prepped, reduced touches, allows them to really maximize the benefit of the line.
Okay, so that's great, Charles. We're sharing a slide on screen about the Jetmaster 2.0, but the question to go with this really is, when someone buys a Barberan over a mass market press, what are they really getting, and what can't they get elsewhere?
Well, first, we have 19 years of single pass manufacturing experience. So we have the most history and experience in the marketplace. We start with an industrial construction. Our printers use a heavy duty frame and conveyance system, state of the art print engine. They're designed for really demanding high production environments to ensure reliable operations. Second, we manufacture fully integrated printers. Marc, as you saw, Marc got to visit our campuses last year. Through one campus, raw material comes in and a complete turnkey line comes out the other. And we control the entire manufacturing assembly process and not just buying components and putting them together. So that's a huge separator for us and others. And third, we build custom machines. We are not a mass produced printer. We serve so many markets. We're in flooring, graphics, sign and display, packaging, metal, wood panels. So we're used to tailoring each line to each customer's requirement. So what they're really getting is like an industrial robustness, complete engineered line that's built around their business, not something that here's our part number 156. So a lot of time goes into that preliminary meeting with the client, understanding what their goals are, current, future, what their assets they have now, and then really designing it to meet their needs. So that's the biggest separator from us and others in the marketplace is Mr. Barberan and us being a machine builder.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'll second that. Sorry if I interject here. I did have the privilege last year of going out to Barcelona to see the equipment and how it's built and how it's ordered basically specifically for the customer. And I was mesmerized by the level of attention, but also by the folks on the team. The team was always smiling. It was almost like when you go through the assembly, you see everybody screwing in one more screw, and every turn they inject a little smile into that effort, and that was quite unique to see. And I've seen a lot of manufacturing plants like yours, but what was very unique was the way it was being done and the energy that was going into every machine.
Thanks,
And that's
Marc. Yeah,
good.
you
Yeah, I was
care.
going to say, great interjection, actually, Marc, because that gives another perspective of what Chuck's saying. So that's good to know. Jessica, I'll come back to you. You mentioned this earlier on in the questions. You've gone from 5 graphic designers down to 2, and you're putting out the same volume. Walk us through how that happened.
So definitely the answer would be our automation systems that Significans and James helped to put in place is largely what got us to where we are today. But I also want to say too that Abbott-Action, it's very important to us that we keep everyone employed. So we never had to lay anyone off. What happened was just over the years, people moved away, people retired, but we never found a need to replace them because of our automation systems. 2 of the last, which happened within the last 6 months. So 2 of the last employees left, and now it's just me and one other individual. So I'll give one example. The biggest thing that the graphics team kind of has as an advantage that we automated is that we work. So we have a project management system that was built custom to our company. And that's kind of where all of our automations are, like all the buttons for automations are triggered. It starts there. And so our structural department works with manufacturing MFG files. And because of that, the manufacturing, so you work with ARDs in their one-up CAD. And then the manufacturing files are like a stepped CAD within within Artios. And that it essentially steps it out so that your plant can run it however stepped it needs. So for example, if you have like a header on a display and it's so small and you want to run like 30 of them on one sheet because your machine, like the Barberan, is huge. You want to run way more of them to get it through quicker. What happens is what we automated is now at one click of a button, 30 of those headers just automatically get stepped themselves. So because we worked with the MFGs, what James helped us accomplish was the structural designers we have a tooling engineer. He builds the MFGs and he makes it like a 30 out. Our graphic design team just works on the one-ups because all the customer really needs to see is a one-up. And that's actually more efficient anyway, because you show your customer a 30 out header. It's like they have to zoom in, make sure it looks right. Like all they really need to see is that one-up. And so once that happens and they approve it, we click a button, it steps it out for the plant, and it's a huge time saver. So that's probably the biggest time saver that I could bring up. Yeah, and honestly, our Illustrator, our Adobe Illustrator our programs are happier now too, because if you think about working in a file that's 30 out, sometimes your Illustrator could crash. Like it's a big file to work with. So now the automation takes the heat of that. So it's pretty cool.
I think I just want to highlight actually when you said that people didn't lose their jobs to not be fearful of automation, because I think Marc will remember when we started pushing automation sort of 10, 15 years ago, and everyone was like, I'm going to lose my job like we are with AI now. It's funny, isn't it? And I think that was a very diplomatic response to explain how you've slowly reduced that wage bill, but also improved efficiency. James, I have to bring you in. You've been mentioned at least 3 million times on this call already. It's 25 minutes into the call. You're obviously doing something with some secret sauce there over at Abbott. Do you want to share anything on what Jess just said?
Sure. I mean, the main thing that I like to talk about with automation is two things. One is that it's a journey that never really ends. Jess and I are still, to this day, we've been working together for the better part of 10 years.
Wow.
And we are still automating. We are still finding things, and that comes out of, you start with a basic process to automate, and then it becomes well, can we automate this? And the answer is always yes. So you just keep chipping away at things that you continue to automate over time. So what you end up with is exactly the situation that Jess is in right now, where when people retire out of those positions, there really isn't a need to bring them back in, but anybody back in for those things. I want humans doing creative processes. I don't want them doing mundane tasks of re-entering data or using other files that other people have created to, do a step of a job. Right. So we have all of those tools in place so that when certain things happen in their project management system, certain processes are triggered automatically. So basically, when one thing moves from one place to another, it's making a proof and putting all the information on it, or picking up the job when it's approved and stepping it out and sending the final files to the appropriate output device. So all of those things become background processes. Those are things that humans don't necessarily have any need to interact with. It also reduces the number of errors that we make. I was a pre-press operator and manager for many years. I made my fair share of spelling mistakes and or copying the wrong data from the wrong place to the wrong item going out. So we reduce those errors by taking those things away from the human beings that are prone to making a mistake here or there. So that's another advantage to those processes as well. But like I said, the automation side of it is always a journey. You're always going to bring new equipment on, right? We're going to get a new Barberan. We're going to get a new digital cutting device. We've had a lot of these things with Abbott over the years where processes change. Shop floor analytics. Can we send this piece of data to this piece of software? Can we get this piece of data from another piece of software? And the answer is always yes. We have the core tools to be able to do that, and we continue to automate over time.
So the answer is always yes, Jess. Do you hear that?
Yes. Yep.
This call's being recorded. No, James, thank you so much. Very honest of you as well, and obviously that experience has been very important. 10 years, that's quite some investment from both parties, and I think that really is testament to what needs to be done. I've always felt that automation's a journey, and you've just obviously underlined and underpinned that. We'll come back to you in a sec, James. Thank you. I'm going to go back to Chuck, if I may. Chuck, we're going to go back onto the press. I've got a little slide I'm just going to share as well. Talk us through the infield upgrade path. what does that mean to the customer who bought a machine years ago? So let's maybe take Jess as a scenario. She mentions the 18, which she loves. Could you potentially use that as a scenario here? Just
Certainly.
saying.
And Jess, if you could just share this with Sam when we're done, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
So, in 2020, Barberan released its second generation digital. So digital printing has been kind of broken up into two areas. We've been under 400 DPI and over 400 DPI. We actually refer to MPI and nozzles per inch. So our 2.0 print engine, we changed how we dry the primer. We've moved to an NIR dryer. We've changed our software system. We have changed our print head and ink circuitry to an Epson S3200 recirculating print head from the Seiko 508. And what does that mean to a customer or converter? Now they can print 4 and 5 point fonts, positives, and 5 and 6 reverse out of solids. And then they have the ability to be able to print large solids with a great tonality. So in the past technology, you would see an effect called banding or stitching. Well, with our new technology, the print engine, the software, we are now able to paint with a very broad brush and at the same time paint eyelashes is the analogy I like to use. So starting in 2015, that was our first install in the United States. So between 2015 and 2020, there were 13 Gen 1 printers installed. So now all these customers have the opportunity to take advantage of it. This is a very comprehensive upgrade. So because of the robust construction we talked about earlier, our engineering team's been able to develop what we have an infield upgrade, which will modernize all the critical areas. So we're actually going to replace the conveyance and vacuum system. So how are we transporting corrugated? We've hit on a little bit, but we're going to actually change the ink circuitry from the scales all the way through the recirculating ink system. We've touched on the new printhead technology. Barberan spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is the right printhead to choose for the corrugated market. And the Epson is where we landed on based on its robustness and its ability to print fine graphics. Another unique feature on the Epson printhead is that there's 2 dowel locations. So now the printhead goes into a fixed seated position. And in the older technology, Jess can share, her team in the morning when they start their alignment, they actually use a small handheld microscope and they look in alignment chart and they move the alignment via clocks. Now in the new technology, because now we're dropping such a smaller fine droplet size, which is down to 5 picoliter, we're having to use an inspection camera. So now the operator comes in, he runs a test sheet, the camera inspects it, it aligns the printer. That inspection system also is doing inline inspection, nozzle out detection, and is a key part of our uniformity software, which I hit on is our ability to now produce, incredible solids and in challenging colors. So the greens, some of the blues, those are really tricky in some cases to not see banding. And lastly, all electronics are updated. So our PLC, our PC, the writing software. So again, we're taking that frame that we've talked about from an industrial build and have the ability to then retrofit all the new components. So currently today, just in North America, there are 7 new 2.0 print engines operating. There's 16 worldwide. And so now we're confident in the technology. And now that we've got a path for our clients, and in practical terms, they're going to get a new printer at a fraction of the cost. And customers who bought the machine years ago can bring today's performance level and really expect another 7 to 10 years of productivity from that asset. So I think there's some great value in the opportunity. The first one upgrade is going to start in November and it'll be operational by January 1st. And we already have probably a handful of customers, I think 5, that are highly considering the upgrade because it makes them relevant. Unfortunately, when the first Jetmasters came out, everyone in the competition was printing at that lower resolution. However, others have increased their resolution. So now if you're in that market and you have a competitor that has the ability to print maybe a little finer line screen or finer type, we need to make sure that we keep the Jetmasters competitive in their space.
Excellent, Chuck. I'm just going to, before I move on to Jess, actually, I'm just going to ask our our attendees today a little question. What do they think that businesses need to understand about automation before they get started? And we can actually ask some experts who know what should be understood before they get started. But if you're on the session, if you'd like to pop in the chat what you think businesses need to understand about automation before you get started, we would love to hear your thoughts. Of course, there's no good buying the Barberan, Chuck, if you don't have good automation, is there? That's what we're hearing from Jeff. So, Rob says small bites to start with. Mark's nodding. James is nodding, I think. Jess is nodding. So I think you get the first win there. Anybody else? PDF construction from Brian. Is there any nods there from the panel? Loosely. What else we got there? What else do you think businesses need to understand about automation before they get started?
Chris, I think one thing that Abbott did really well is they really documented current state, and they did it from the salesperson talking to the customer through the item shipping out the door. So I think that something that Marc and the team do really well on assisting on how do we know where we are today. And it's amazing that how you may think you know where you are, but when you put a collective group of people in the conference room, and I still remember the stickers on the walls and the path, that it was a very healthy exercise. And I think that's when Marc and the team, James, are able to look and see, here's a path. And he said, crawl, walk, run.
Yeah, we've moved on from the Post-it notes on the whiteboard now. We actually do it digitally now, amazingly enough.
I just want to dive in
myself. I apologize, James.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was there with you, man.
I was going to ask what color the Post-its were and if there was a severity depending on what color they were, but maybe we'll save that for another session. Sean says, as James described, it's an iterative process. You have to be prepared to start small, as Rob said, then build on successes, because you don't know what you don't know until you get to the next level. And I guess, James and Jess, that's where the 10 years comes into what you guys have put in place, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Really Jess, I'm going to come to you. Abbott can now produce proofs on the same machine and same substrate, sometimes same day. What has that done for your customers' relationship? Hopefully, it's made it better.
Oh, yeah. That's such an asset, the fact that we get to print our proofs on the same. Because if you think about it, wouldn't that be amazing for everyone to be able to see what you're going to get in your full order? But unfortunately, for so many packaging suppliers, that's the reality. They have to use a different machine, and then have their customers sign off of approval on just a 1-out, and then the full order is on a different machine, hoping that nothing else happens and they still like the quality. So I imagine that's tough. But yeah, our customers, and it's nice for me being pre-pressed. I know. I kind of use it as control samples. So I'm like, okay, this is literally going to be what you'll see on your full order. So if you get a sign off on this, as long as the plant can uphold this exact quality, then the customer will be happy ultimately. So, so to get them used to the exact quality is huge.
Thanks, Jess. And slightly on from that as well, we had another question come in here that says, how has getting more efficient internally changed what you're able to offer the people buying from you? So it's a bit of a progressive question from the previous one.
I think the largest thing that automation efficiency has changed is speed. We're able to push so many more jobs through in a short amount of time than we did before. I would say we'd be able to offer probably more products to customers in shorter time frames. I think speed is huge. That's probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
Jess, when you sorry, Chris, Jess, when you receive a PDF, so you've gone through your art for approval process. So once it comes back approved from the client, how long does it take to get a file to the printer now?
So, and I'll give one example. So in regards to what I said before, that 30-out header. So back in the day, that could have taken days, because so the way that we operate the graphic team anyways is we quality check each other, and we always have. And so, and James was kind of talking about this as well. Like, we have little legends at the bottom on our like one-up art files for approval. And in the past, even if someone transposed a number, we would have to send the graphic team. We used to do everything through email, which also dates me, I think, a little bit, but now it's through our project management software. But we'd send an email to the team and we'd say, can someone check this? And when someone got around to checking it, they'd say, oh, it's great, but can you fix that number? And then they'd send it back to the person who designed it, and they'd have to correct it. So if you think about each little tiny thing like that, and if you have a few of those, that takes time, like the back and forth and like just the little everything like that. It's every legend that we have is automated. So there's no small errors like that anymore, like James was saying. So it's just huge that the time saved, I would say, for like a 30 out header, we could probably do that in like 4 hours for completed from one up AFA to completed art file for approval or to completed layout. I'd say in 4 hours. So it's a huge time saver.
I was going to ask you a slightly different question here. I mean, the need for speed must be so important now in the competitive landscape for you. Do you think this is something that cannot be ignored by other PSPs?
I think, yeah. I think everybody wants them. Well, in this industry, everyone wants things as quickly as possible, it seems. So I think the need for speed is important, because if someone hears a competitor can do it a little quicker, although people do like quality too, but I think speed is probably most important.
Okay.
Everybody can pick up their phone and order something from Amazon and get it tomorrow. So
yeah.
speed is everything now. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, James,
so
that was where I was going, James. I mean, we all expect an Amazon experience now, don't we?
Yeah,
If we do it in our personal lives, we expect it.
Yeah.
It's part of our society at this point.
Yeah.
I'd like to throw a little bit of caution. While it is part of our society, and we have many, many North American businesses that are seeking to adopt that Amazon model as part of their service model, what I'd like to throw caution to is that building that model takes time. And as you guys have said, you got to take stock of what you got. And then if you don't have everything, like all the right software, all the right processes, etc., drawing the map to get to there is huge. And certainly you guys between Barberan and Abbott have been an incredible beacon in the industry in the corrugated space, which, by the way, is a $50 billion industry. And if we think about it, it's propelling itself every year by 3 or 4% growth. There's not very many industries left in the graphic arts that are propelling themselves at that level. And therefore, you guys are really becoming that beacon of saying, okay, if you're adopting an e-commerce model for your business, if you're growing the business with more packaging opportunity, there is no better way to service the customer by there's no other way to develop the automation. One, for the capacity that Jess has explained. Two, for the speed that is required. But more importantly, we've got to recognize that at some point, the magic doesn't snap and happen. The magic is happening along the way, as you guys mentioned. It is an iterative process. And therefore, the magic is developing. And the magic won't go away because you guys have built it. And therefore, it becomes a very trusted opportunity in the business and for the business to service other businesses with.
Some great insight there, Marc. Marc, you asked a question earlier. Does anyone in the audience have a Barberan? Sean came back and says, I have customers that do. And I have to say, I'm shocked at how often the quality is less of an issue than the speed and turnaround is. I mean, the quality has to be quite awesome as well, but just saying the turnaround is usually the issue. Thank you for that, Sean. Thank you for the question, Marc. Chuck, I'm going to come back to you if I may, sir. Where is a Barberan taking the technology next? And where do you see the packaging print market heading? A very expansive question there, sir.
Yes. So we're seeing a lot of growth on the graphics and retail side. We've been focusing for the last several years on in-store signage. That demand is a true litho-like quality requirement. And our newest solution, which is labeled the Nautilus, similar to the Jetmaster, that's designed for that to print on both paper and synthetic substrates. And also, it prints on both rigid and flexible materials. So it's got a really compact footprint with high output, and that's really where the market's going. You know, top end image quality, shorter runs. We just were talking faster turnarounds and less floor space. Second, on the corrugated side, we're already running the highest output from a sheet fed device globally. So our 120 meter machine, which is almost 400 feet per minute, we don't think practical speed will go much higher on sheet fed. There's some limitations on corrugated. Every corrugated company deals with a certain amount of warp. It's, you know, it's not a precise science. So there's some limitations there of why we're not going to go faster. Second, from a resolution standpoint, we're printing a couple millimeters above the substrate. So how much smaller of a droplet can we drop for 2 or 3 millimeters and have it land where it's supposed to? So we really think we've got to a resolution. We really believe our next gains are going to come through software, ink chemistry, better automation, workflow, color control. We'll talk about ink suppliers a little later on, but you know, new ink formulations for performance and sustainability. So the future really is versatility across substrates, compact, high performance. The packaging market is clearly moving towards short runs and reduced lead times. So still requiring all the same things that they still want: the high quality, error-free, and automation. Jess hit on a point, and I know when we had our prep call that, Jess, we talk about speed to market, but I think automation has also helped you in quality control. So I think you had shared a number. I just think it was relevant for the audience to hear on how many jobs you processed that were error-free. I just think that's an amazing stat.
We don't have any. We have a really tight process now. So I can say in the past, since we have everything developed with automation, I haven't run into an instance where we've had an error as far as running the wrong version of a file, running the wrong file for a customer. Nothing art-wise that I can recall has come up in the last, I don't know, 6-7 years. So it's because whenever that does come up, it's like I want to take it as an opportunity to learn from, and I want to like make sure I mitigate that in the future. Like in the past when we had big errors like through production runs, but in the past 6 or 7 years, I'd say I haven't seen any.
So you do have
Yeah.
speed and quality.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Jess, is that because of James and the 10 years that he's been working with you guys?
Part of it, yeah.
James, I've got to bring you in on that one. I mean, that's
We
fantastic.
do what we can.
6 to 7 years, no errors. I mean, how much responsibility do you take for that success?
I put a lot of that success on Jess and her team, and as being as meticulous as they are. Obviously, the tools will help you get there. You know, that's what they're there for. So I'm not going to take credit for that, but we will certainly say that we are putting the tools in place to make that possible. Because that's where it all comes from, is that ability to use the data that you have and maintain that data from one end of the production process to the other. So what you end up with is you basically removing all the places where those mistakes can happen, right? And by and large, those are human error, right? So we're just taking a lot of that stuff out of it. But I mean, it's not to say that a customer service person can't enter something incorrectly. So that meticulous nature of Jess and her team is largely responsible for making sure that can happen. We're just giving her the tools to be able to do it.
Thanks, James.
Very modest, very modest. Jess, based on everything you're sharing here, obviously there's a lot of successes here. If you were to talk to another print service business, I don't want to call you a PSP. I don't think that's always a nice term. A print business owner, I think, is much better. If they came to you and said they were thinking about making this kind of investment that you guys have with Significans and Barberan, what would you tell them to do first?
So I would say it's important to be aware of your end goal, and it's important to have your overall scope for your automation investment to know where you want to get to in the future. But like everyone's mentioned a bunch of times, like it's equally important to maybe designate an internal team that can outline each iteration, what's needed for each iteration. Because as we've mentioned, automation is awesome, but it really doesn't happen all in one go. It's not instant. You have to outline your iterations. What do I want to automate next? What's my next bite-sized piece? It's taken years of development and testing to get to where we are now.
Okay, and that's a great piece of advice there. Okay, we've got some more questions coming in. Thanks, Marc, for giving people a nudge. What's the biggest bottleneck in your current workflow right now? It doesn't say who it's to, but I think we could probably ask that one of you, Jess, and let James and Marc come in if they want to, or even Chuck as well. What's the biggest bottleneck in your current workflow right now? None, you're going to say, not for 6 or 7 years.
I know. I honestly, I don't think that we have a bottleneck per se. I feel like we've reached a point that we're all pretty happy with, and automation has got us there. I want to say, yeah, within the last 5 years, I mean, we're always thinking of where can we go next. Recently, James and I, just to think of the most recent one that we worked on is a Mylar workflow in the plant. They have like these see-through Mylar sheets that you can see the outline of the die line for the order. And we automated that. It was kind of a bite-sized piece. Those we used to have to ask the structural designers to send us the Mylar file, and then they'd send it, but then there'd be all the different information on it from the manufacturing file. So now with the click of a button, when we run our layout, it also generates a Mylar file. And we're getting close to a point now where if the guys in the plant come in at like 6 a.m. and the office workers aren't in yet, if they really need a Mylar, they could also hit a button and it could just start printing. So we're coming such a long way that is just really cool.
Jess, are you running digital and analog side by side? And if so, how are you managing the crossover?
Yeah, so we have the Barberan, the digital Barberan, and then we also have Flexo machines. And what really helps us, I think, color-wise, would be we actually have our own in-house ink kitchen. So which is awesome. I want to say maybe, I mean, Chuck can correct me, maybe 5 years ago. It could be longer. 6 years ago, we had put it in place, and then there's a girl that works in there, and it's really helpful because we'll print something off the Jetmaster, and we can kind of streamline color right in house and get a color match on the Jetmaster. We could print the same exact color on Flexo, and she could create it.
Okay, so I've got a personal question now. Has there been a fight internally to justify the last 10 years of investment? And what was the toughest part of the conversation? I say 10 years, I'm going to keep referencing that because I think it's amazing that you guys have got big picture thinking here. I find it so refreshing to see that both customer and software vendors sit down and plan this out properly and not look for a quick fix. So I'm going to keep referencing the 10 years here. But did you have any internal issues there when trying to justify it?
I want to say the biggest issue would be probably the folks that, the people that have just been doing what they've been doing for years and years and years, and they're set in their ways and they don't want to change. I think you could probably run into that with any company. But what you got to do, I guess, is just keep outlining the benefits and kind of just have a positive outlook and just tell them to keep an open mind, really.
Or speak to James and Marc.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to run into that pushback, whether that's the fear of losing my job over automation is always a thing. What I always tell people is it's not about losing jobs. It's about doing more with the resources that you have. Right? Businesses have to grow, right? That old saying of you grow or you go, right? So if we're going to grow, we have to continue to grow with the resources that we have. How can we do that? It's either adding bodies. Good luck finding another Jess in the newspaper. You're not going to, right? So the reality is how do we get more out of Jess on a daily basis? We give her the tools to actually be able to do that. Right.
I love that, James. Speaking of growing there, James, I'm going to bring Marc in here. Marc, there was something that we looked at on your deck earlier on. If a business has no automation at all, where do you actually start? I'm just going to share something while you answer that question.
I think that'd be appropriate. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's this is our blueprint for operational efficiency and scalability. All the businesses that we're speaking with today want to embrace a transformation, and I love this this image that we or this illustration that we designed because it starts over on the left side with vision. The vision is where is that C-level at with where they want to take their business. Of course, they have their staff, and their staff are very involved with the day-to-day process. And then the staff are helped with a tool and a tool set, which are their systems. So what Significance endeavors to do on every assessment or every audit is to capture what was the vision or what is the vision, where are the people at? We try and interview as much as possible. And then, of course, take a measurement of what is the current process and what are the current systems so that we can make sure they're right sized for the applications, because again, many businesses have evolved to diversify their businesses, so it's really important that we take stock of where the processes are, where the systems are at, and from there make recommendations and implementation schedules around what are the new processes, what are the new systems, and then go back to vision and people to fulfill their requirements and their outlook of what the next couple of years look like for them. So yeah, this is part of our blueprint for efficiencies, and we stand by it every day. This is our Bible at Significance every day, and we don't do it without people that want to embrace a transformation or digitize their business so that they're ready for tomorrow's for tomorrow's AI.
Thank you, Mark. That's fantastic. And it seems very logical as well when you break it down like that. We have a question from Brian. Jess, how do you fit proofing on the Barberan into the production schedule without slowing down production timelines? Oh, that seems very precise, Brian. I love that. Jess.
That's a great question.
Mm.
So actually, when Chuck worked here, he helped develop this. We have a standardized schedule that we do proofing, and it's supposed to be Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. However, of course, you're always going to run into situations where you have customers that are like, I need this same day or I need this tomorrow. So we do have to make accommodations and quickly change things around sometimes. And so roughly it's supposed to just be 3 days a week. However, there are sometimes that we can get, so in our plant, the guys go on break at 10:30, and then the Jetmaster operator, he sometimes will take a different break and he'll just run proofs during that break. So we kind of make it work. We have our ways.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna come into another software question, if I may. How do you measure the return of automation software? What numbers should we actually be tracking? James and Mark, I think that's for you two chaps.
Go ahead, James.
Sure. Well, part of our general audit process at the end of it is kind of to walk through an ROI study of what does it cost to actually get those processes done in a non-automated way. So how long does it take you to create a proof and put all the information on it? How long does it take you to create that 30 out layout and put all the pieces on it? And we look at what those times are, and then we're comparing that down the road as we go. So it becomes an ongoing process. Even, long after our first implementations, we're always looking at how long does it actually take you now to generate a proof? So we went from 15 minutes to, well, it's a background process. I click a button and 30 seconds later I have a proof and I'm sending it out. So those are the main metrics that we use as our drivers is how long does something actually take for a human to do it? And then how long does the automation take to do it after the fact? And that's how everything that we do is based on ROI. So, how much time are we giving you back? And what does that look at like as capacity, right? Because again, we're talking about when we automate, it's about building capacity, doing more with the resources that we have. So, how much more resource time do we actually have at that point?
Excellent. That's a great answer. Mark, is there anything you want to add to that? Or
Yeah, I want to add two things. When we do a full audit for customers, we look at what is the total turnaround time throughout the entire business, from ingestion of customer files right through the shipping of those files. And those measurements are somewhat of a clear understanding of what is the current state and what would be the whole turnaround time. And that's where Jess has mentioned we went from, several folks in the department down to a couple, but our output and getting the files out has also been expedited along the way. So, and that's what happens with every circumstance or every adoption of automation. The other is, what is the adoption of software and what is that measurement? Because we we promote customers like Abbott-Action to buy what we call off-the-shelf foundational software that you will find in the marketplace today. And then we will configure it, not customize it. We will configure it so that it's been tailored for the business or the application or the aptitude or the skill sets. And once that configuration is in place, our commitment is an ROI on the software within the first 30 to 45 days, because we understand that the customers have made that investment in software on top of the services. So our quest is to give them the ROI on the software. That's more than most of the OEMs in the industry are providing today. Because again, they're not out there most of the time configuring. What they're doing is training the software. So that's where we stand today.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Marc. One more question here for Chuck. Nearly called you Charles then, Chuck. Apologies. How does the open ink model work in practice? Can customers generally use any supplier they want? That's quite a specific question there.
Yeah, yes, there is. So in Mr. Barberan's philosophy is that we're a machine builder, not an ink manufacturer. So we don't lock customers into a single proprietary ink. Instead, what we run is really an open approved vendor model. So in practice, what that means is that the customer can choose from multiple qualified ink suppliers, not just one. And those ink suppliers are certified by our engineers and our chemists and by the print OEM. So it's really important that the reliability and the printed warranty are protected. That's why you really want to be cautious about putting any ink in any type of device. I think the advantage to our converters, and let's make it about the customer, multiple vendors create real competition and innovation. I personally have been involved in projects where a customer's application pushed our ink partner to improve their formulation or solve a specific challenge. And that's a real benefit of the open model. If I'm the only person in the game, here's what I have to offer and here's the price. And there's really no opportunity to leverage that. But having, 4 different types of vendors available, each of those vendors have a tenure and want to stay part of that global partnership. There's also a strong regulatory upside. Our ink partners are global players who know how to navigate regulatory and compliance requirements. And how could a machine builder see the fortune of, let's just take the California compliance. There's things that California requires in so many different substrates and products that we're actually building one ink set to meet all of North America's requirements. So having that vision. So can they use any supplier? Not literally, but they do have a meaningful choice across several certified vendors with room for innovation while still maintaining performance and competition.
Thanks, Chuck. I'm going to just leave a question here for the people on the call and those watching on the replay. After today, or after you watch this on the replay, for example, how likely are you to look at automation in your business over the next 12 months? Please pop it in the chat. As I say, if you're going to join us on the replay, we'd also get back to you and be interested in a conversation. I'm also just going to share some resources as well. We mentioned them earlier on in the session. Scan the QR code, find out more about the automation roadmap from Significans. There is lots and lots of really good content on the website to help you with your automation journey. That's the end of today's session. I would love to thank you all so much for joining us. I'd like to thank our panel. I'd like to thank Jess, James joining us from the East Coast, Chuck and Marc once again for hosting this. Guys, any closing statements?
Appreciate the opportunity. It was a great dialogue and it's great hearing where Abbott's taken automation and how it's benefiting their workflow and their customers.
Yeah, we want to extend our compliments both to the Barberan team and to Abbott-Action. You guys have really become very, very lead in our industry. So my compliments to both your teams and yourselves. We're having a champagne moment here for you.
Cheers.
Excellent. Chris, I would like to add our next what we're calling friends and family opportunity is coming up on August 12th at 11 a.m. We're going to have a dialogue with some proponents in the industry that are going to talk about what's happening at Printing United. And I think it's going to be an all-female cast that is coming on August 12th. So stay tuned for that.
To Mark's point, we will put that link in the description so that you can register for that in advance. Women in print and women in printing software, more importantly, is something that's very, very important, Mark. So fantastic point there. Jess, James, any closing statements?
Jess, go for it.
It's great to be a part of the conversation. I am open if anyone has any questions. Please shoot me an email. My email is jlabianca@abbott-action.com. Open to continuing the conversation. And I love this stuff.
Thanks, Jess. Go on, James, close us out, sir.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I mean, we love automation. We love what we do. We like helping people do more with what they have. So by all means, reach out. We'd love to help anybody and everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye for now.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.